All right, I got one thing to say.
Yes.
Oh, I'm not going to do it as long as I can do it because I can't do that for a long time.
Sure you can. I don't believe you. You know what? I'm out.
I was
Yeah.
going to say we could intro with everybody saying goal like somebody scored a goal, but I don't know. You guys probably wouldn't have participated, would you?
Nope.
No, no, I
Nope.
didn't think so.
Yeah.
Y'all are no fun. Y'all are not
We'll
World
listen to
Cup.
you and
You're
have
not
any
World
comments
Cup
about it.
worthy.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this is Arbitrage Trades, and this is After the Bell. It is after Wednesday's bell. We'll call this the Micron bell, I guess, because how crazy they're going. Which is probably going to mean everything we say here about the facts and figures in the market is going to change in the morning for sure. My guests are Daniel Hopwood, and I'd be good if I got everybody in here. I still had the MTUM chart up when we started there. So now I've gone to you. So what would it be like? It'd be like a natural transition that we've had lately is me going over to something else as we start. So anyway, we've got me in the top left, the silverback. If you'll notice on the left side of the screen, we decided there was a memo to wear playful blue shirts. And then
No,
on the
they're
right
definitely
side,
not. There's
on the
definitely,
right side, it
definitely
was the
was
dark
not.
side. So as you can
Give
tell,
yourself
based
to the
off of
dark
this,
side.
yes, we
Reaching the
have
quants.
Royce and Daniel on the right side is the dark side, and on the left side is the light. We
I
are the
sent
light.
Royce a calendar invite to wear a black shirt today.
There you go. All right. So top left is me. Bottom top right is the Red Bull sponsored Daniel Hopwood. Just kidding. Not sponsored by them, but we'll take it. Bottom left in a very nice shirt is Josh, the bankster. And the bottom right is the busiest man on earth who doesn't get any sleep at all, even when he tries. It's
10
Royce.
a.m.,
Yeah.
2 a.m. I'm still here.
Or he's
I'm
even
still here.
creating things and improving things, even as he waits for other people to do their job. So, uh, Quanticus Maximus, I think, is what we call him. Also, have a disclosure: we are not financial advisors, and this is not financial advice. This information provided is surely for entertainment purposes only and educational purposes, if you will. And always consult an investment professional for making a financial decision, please. So let's move on to the markets. This time, instead of reading it off, I tried to just type it in here. So we'll see. These are the updates on the numbers, and I already see something weird happen, but I'm going to give it a shot. So we got the Dow Jones was up 0.36% to 51,850. That is a little up from last week. S&P 500 was up or down 0.09, essentially flat, but we'll still call it red to 73.59. That's also down from last week. NASDAQ is down 0.43 to 25,476, which is also down. You're going to hear a lot of downs here. The dollar is a 101.38, which is actually one of the ones that's up. Crude 69.86, Brent 73.41, which is both of those are down. Gold's down to 40.15, silver down to 57.54. All this may be changing because of Micron, by the way, right now. The 10-year is also down to 4.4. Everything's going down instead of like it's supposed to. Bitcoin is also down 66.74. Ethereum's all the way to 16.10 now, and XRP playing around at $1.06, which is also down. So, what do you want to add to that, Daniel? Everything's changing in the morning, right? Because of Micron.
Yeah, so I mean, Micron reported earnings right at the end of the day, and I mean, how much did they go up after hours? They
About
went up.
12% it
They're,
was.
yeah, they're up 13% after hours, and that was kind of a big cliffhanger for a lot of the market, as that's been one of the strongest runs since the April bottom. And TBD on how the news actually goes in the morning, but markets have been kind of selling off, right? We've been talking about it for a bit, and a lot of people on X speculating that they're really just waiting for the Micron earnings, and I mean, they were honestly stellar. That doesn't mean anything. They could sell off by the end of tomorrow, but it when you the one thing that I like to look at right now is if you look at the Russell, it's right next to making new all-time highs compared to the other indices. So it's at least for the small cap side of the house, if you were to take that as kind of where further out on the risk curve of where people are willing to play, it looks like we could still have some more upcoming.
Where'd all that come from? Bitcoin and tech?
All the risk? Well, no,
I mean,
Bitcoin
go to the Russell.
Bitcoin hit like 60 over my night, your day.
I gotcha. Josh, any words about the markets?
Yeah, I mean, just on the Micron thing, it's kind of nice. Like, we've needed some really stellar earnings. That's what had kept this whole cycle going, was all of the really, really stellar earnings that we had over the past like 6 months to a year, and it's kept everything going. And then now even a week or two ago, earnings were coming out and they were in line with projections or exceeding projections, but they weren't really blowing anything out of the water. And so it's nice to have somebody that has actually blown the earnings out of the water. And so, might fuel the fire a little bit longer, but we'll see.
We shall see.
Because everything's so undervalued in that area. So
it is, actually.
I'm sure it's going to just keep blowing up. I mean, was the earnings because it was such lower, like that little trick that they like to do on Wall Street? They lower the expectations so far that it's a stellar earnings because it got over that little bitty jump, the little hurdle.
No, they crushed earnings. It was quite a big beat. So revenue was 41 billion with an expected 35 billion, and earnings per share were 25 with an expected 20. So it's a pretty large beat for an already very big company that's had a huge run.
Because all the other tech guys throwing the money in that circle jerk that we got going on, or
I don't know if they're a part of that circle.
Okay. All right.
They're like on the peripheral of the circle. I think they might be watching. Maybe look at
the world is a big circle.
No. They're in the chair.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
They're in a chair with their hand raised.
I just raised my hand. Thank you. All right. So, any wise words before we move on to Korea to look at the opposite side of what's going on? Uh-oh. Ouch.
I don't have wise words, but I did find,
not
one
Christmas
interesting
time,
thing
Royce.
is that
nose is gold for you.
The blue nutcracker is not Christmas time. What'd you say, Daniel?
I was just saying that thought it was interesting that gold has gone down to 4,000.
Yeah.
That's not.
It's supposed to be this big risk inflation hedge.
Yep.
4 days and counting, gentlemen. 4 days and counting. Black Swan.
End of the month. Yeah, that's right. The 28th, 30th.
I said that out loud.
28th, 30th. No, that's been put out there already. We'll see. We'll see.
A shift. No one saw it coming.
Yep. The digital. What is it? You never know if anything's real or not with the AI, but they're talking about the whatever coin it is that Trump is doing for switching everything over. I don't know. Is it DTC something? I don't know. It felt like there was a digital coin, and which also is it's the 250, the DTC 250, I think, or something like that, or DT 250, which is going to be the way that we switch over to the. I don't know. We'll see. Just look that up.
Oh, yeah, you gave them enough information. Yeah.
Just to tease and let them go do the research. Yes. All right. So on the flip side, Korea had a.
I mean, hey, that's why we have state of bands.
Yep. Flip side, we got Korea going on, and it's running away from tech, evidently. But now will it all come back? As an overnight, now they'll reverse everything, which will then be going into our markets in the morning because they flipped and went. Anyway, because we get in the morning is when we get all the whatever happened the rest of the world, right? It comes into our markets. So we'll see what happens in the morning. And I don't know, it'd be fun to probably play that up and then play it down in the afternoon. And then it comes back up in the, the same old pattern it likes to do.
It's called a sine wave.
Yep. There you go.
Oh, sorry.
Sine and cosine.
Yeah.
And we're not talking about a mortgage. All right, let's talk about Korea though. Kospi, if you don't know, that's their market. It's very heavy tech. It relies very much on tech, which, by the way, South Korea, we're going to do the numbers about AI in a second, but South Korea evidently leads in patents for AI, which I thought was an interesting thing. So very heavy market for tech and AI, and then it experienced what? Daniel, sold off how much?
Yeah, so it on Tuesday it was down 10%, for overnight for the U.S., which kind of led to a lot of selling in the U.S. the next day. And with the Kospi, I think it's super interesting because if you look at it from really the end of last year, November 2025, it's had like 5 or 6, like 10 to 20% like down days. And so, but it's up 90%. An index, that's like the S&P being up 90%. It's up 90% this year alone, which is
like that.
an insane rally. And a large part of that being on the backs of Samsung and SK Hynix, two big memory chip makers for AI, just like Micron based in the US, what we were just talking about. They make up 50% of the index, right? So that would be like NVIDIA and Google making 50% of the S&P. So it's a very heavy, trade on more or less really just like two companies. And Koreans, I don't fully understand, love leverage. So they were they were super leveraged into Bitcoin going into the end of or the beginning of its downfall in October 2025, and then they all switched to kind of like the AI trade. And you can like see this in the flows. There's some really interesting charts out there. And what's kind of further driven this rally in Korea is that apparently the regulators, in their own words, were hasty to approve leveraged products, i.e., and like their margin debt is like 3 times higher than it's ever been. In like their
that only spells bad things, folks.
Oh yeah, I mean the good part is that
leverage margin. Yeah, that sounds like a good idea.
The exposure, I mean, Korea is a pretty small market in terms of the market, but like, for their market, being that levered from a historical perspective never ends well. Obviously, it doesn't take a genius to share that. But it's pretty interesting that they've, really had this crazy bull run, and it's managed to stay intact through this like insane volatility.
So I can't imagine any other country in the world that might have a ton of percent tied up in technology that moves the market so much. Is there any other country in this world that might also have that same situation, and just Korea is just a microcosm of what the big guy's doing?
It's Fiji, right?
Fiji? Did you say Fiji?
Yeah, random, Arbitrage, hey.
Yeah, anyway, I'm just saying that I think it's just a small version of what's going on in the U.S. and like you said, it's not 50%, but I mean, if you were to compile all the different U.S. tech companies, it'd be interesting to see what that percent is, not just the Mag 7.
Yeah.
But
do you guys remember what the S&P 500 was at in 2008 before it crashed?
That was too young. I don't know.
Oh yeah, about $141.
I was just thinking, I know it's under 2.
Micron Technology did that after hours today. The entire market.
Long live capitalism.
That also means inflation must be a beast, right? Because I'm like, if you can move that much, and a 50%, that means if MU goes down $500, that's equivalent going down $70 in the same time frame. If you go back then to where we are now, that is that's a 7 to 8 time multiplier.
What about SpaceX? Do it for SpaceX.
SpaceX didn't go anywhere. It barely moved. 160. It went from 165 to 200. So that's about 20% move.
But then when it fell to its lowest after that,
what's its
it went back down to what 130, back to its IPO, and then a little bit below, and then it
153. You got to remember SpaceX though; it's like 4% of the float trades right now.
Exactly, which I've got some info on that.
Next to nothing.
Correct. redemptions, and at the private equity level, and then also just employees being able to sell and become millionaires at SpaceX. So I've got that information as well coming up. Did I have anything else? Yeah, that's what it was actually. We're going to talk about that here. I did put that up here. SpaceX, you can get 20% after their earnings, which is late July or early August. And then it's a rolling 7% at 70 days, 90 days, 105, 120, 135, post IPO. And then the full unlock, Merry Christmas, is December 8th. So we'll see how much retail loans versus institutions, I guess, at that point. I don't know. And it'll be in the charts, though.
Yeah.
So we'll know.
We will know.
All right. Let's move on to China and AI. Give us a little opener on that, and then I have a few facts as well, and then let's see where everybody thinks we stand.
All right, so China's become kind of known for their open source models. So in other words, a model that anyone could download and you can kind of like orchestrate yourself for what you want. A new Chinese company called, in English called ZAI came out with GLM5 Spot 2, real sexy name there. And it when it came out on the benchmarks, what the heck? Hold on, sorry, I'm getting some noise. When it came out, it was a top 5 model at 20% of the cost of US models. So, pretty close to as good as the US models, but significantly cheaper. And one of the kind of like big changes from this compared to past things like DeepSeek, which was run on older NVIDIA chips, but still NVIDIA chips, was that these were run on Huawei chips, which are Chinese chips, and a company that is banned from the US for having back-end infrastructure that people could access in China for US telco equipment. So they're not allowed to like sell stuff in the US anymore. And kind of the tech world's concern is that if this proliferates, is that this could be the beginning of the end for US AI dominance, because currently everything is kind of run on mostly NVIDIA chips and NVIDIA infrastructure with, Micron in the background, AMD, SanDisk, all that kind of stuff. And with, I think we were talking about it before this started, is that memory has become so expensive that Apple said the new iPhone Pros will be 20% more expensive, about $270 more, because memory has become so much more expensive. And I think that's kind of another interesting sign of that. If China can make, cheaper chips that are almost as good as US ones, same with memory, that the market really starts to shift to Chinese AI. And this specific company, ZAI, is up 2,000% this year. And they IPO'd somewhere around the end of last year, beginning of this year. So it kind of like begs the question, we talked about kind of how toppy Micron is and some of the trade in the US of, do we get a bleed into the China markets out of our markets for the next wave of AI? And is that where the Koreans will be leveraged next?
Well, nice bow there. Nice bow.
Yep. The only thing I have to add, and it was US versus China. US is still considered first place, by the way.
Who were the judges? I want to know how much they were paid.
Probably. But China has closed a big gap from that. I mean, China was way ahead, then we went ahead, and now they're closing it back again. It's kind of what it's been. If you were to look at a chart, you would see that. So China leads in patents and robots over the U.S.
Right, Josh?
I mean, if you go over to China, you'll see everything's a robot. China also leads in real world development, meaning that the application of the AI over US, and everything else pretty much on these certain, I'm not going to go over all the different topics, but everything else that's considered AI, the US is ahead for now. So, and then I threw in already that South Korea, for some reason, has the most patents. Yeah, I know. Anything else to add there, Josh? Are we going to be taken over by robots from China? What's going on?
No, it's just, I mean, all of this kind of boils down to two different things. Like you can look at it, the fundamental difference between how China and the U.S. operates, and with China, you know, and it's kind of actually one of the reasons that in this particular instance, capitalism is actually getting in the way, because China's operating everything that all of these various companies actually have to ultimately feed back into the Chinese government. And the Chinese government has control over this. So it almost operates in a little bit more of a open source model. So there's significantly more collaboration amongst the AI builders and things like that. Whereas with the US, you've got 5 different mainstream models. You might have a lot of, startups and things that are being absorbed that are, piggybacking off of other various models. And there is a slight bit of collaboration and advancement that comes from the bottom up. But realistically, you also have these, the basically 5 major models that are fighting against each other, and they're not actually cooperating, because they're all wanting, their bottom line is not, how do I make AI the best it possibly can be? Their bottom line is, how do I affect the bottom line? And then the other point is that there's 2 different sanctions. Like we kept trying to limit, back in I think this was 4 or 5 years ago when we had the embargo on Huawei because they were creating some kind of backdoor. So now there's an increase in production capacity of Huawei chips that they can't, that like the EU and the US were no longer using. So they've got excess production that they can now use to just literally devote exclusively to AI. And it's interesting because we also thought that this whole, embargo on China and limiting NVIDIA chips and things like that was going to hurt them, but they've used this extra resources that they have and the structure of the way their government and their capitalism works almost to an advantage. And so it seems like, we keep trying to cut them out, and it just seems we're almost shooting ourselves in the foot in that particular instance. And so it's just kind of interesting how those couple of things have played out. And so when Darin says crazy things like China is number 2 and the US is number 1 in this AI race, like that, it doesn't make a ton of sense, because just the basic fundamentals, the basic structure of how China operates versus the US, like China is ultimately going to end up winning this war.
It's a war?
I didn't say who wins. Like, I'm just saying
the
current battle.
But that's why we're trying to build data centers all over the U.S. right now.
Right.
Compete.
Right. And
if you can't out process them, add more processors.
Yep. Yeah, and the thing is, every company is trying to create their own AI now. So
let me ask you, like, building out these data centers.
What's that?
I mean, you get into like what is getting in the way of building out these AI data centers and things like that is, I mean, the simple answer is bureaucracy.
Oh yeah, people,
which is a hurdle that China doesn't really have to get over, because it ultimately answers to the Chinese government, and the Chinese government is going to ultimately prioritize what advances China. And so if they have to, do different loopholes or skirt things or get, I guess, break down barriers to get from point A to point B, it's a lot easier to do it over there than it is over here in this particular instance.
So I'm going to talk about the pink elephant in the room. AI, China, national security. If they're putting everything out as open source, what's to make sure it's not a Trojan horse or something else? And if we're not smart enough to necessarily see it, because it is open source, yes, people develop new AI models, But what's embedded in those models that we don't know about? National security.
So I'll just say this, because the Chinese open source models have been out for a while, is that supposedly there is, no vulnerabilities found yet that would be like backdoor, and they're open source, right? So you have to run it on your own infrastructure. So, you would be able to see anything that gets sent back hypothetically, right? The thing with them though is like DeepSeek, for example. I'm just saying hypothetically, Royce. I'm not saying like that's will come out to be true, right? The thing was that we found with like DeepSeek was that it was essentially ChatGPT with a CCP wrapper around it, of that it would give you like a good answer unless you asked about like Tiananmen Square or something like that. It would like literally write out the ChatGPT answer and then delete it and then give you like we don't know what this event is.
Oh wow. I love
it. So it's like and not to say there isn't some kind of backdoor thing, like I don't know, like who knows? I'm sure that'll come out in the future, but there is a control aspect of like the information that it puts out. So it's a different kind of security risk, if you will.
But they all do that same stuff. Like they all do that same stuff. If you ask something, I saw a thing about if you ask OpenAI, like can you draw an image of a burning American flag? It would draw it. If you draw an image of a burning like Iranian flag, it would draw it. But then at the same time, if you asked it can you draw an image of a burning Israeli flag? All of a sudden it's like, we don't spread hate. We don't want to, create these issues like that. So, they all have the wrapper. They all have the bias wrapper one way or the other. It just depends on where the loyalties lie.
How you word it. Yeah, no, absolutely. But so the other thing is, but why couldn't it be hidden in plain sight? Meaning, if every model is learning from another model and basically you're teaching it, could you encode something at this point in ChatGPT and then ask the question over there if you know how to phrase it to get it out on the other side? So it's not a, hey, we're going to put it in. It's like you plant an Easter egg and then you get it out on the other side. Because that information has been embedded, and now all you have to do is to get it back out, ask the same question. And if the models are learning and being shared, that information is being shared, it's also being filtered and then respread back out. So if I'm like, okay, tell me Josh Morgan wore a blue shirt on Wednesday, June 24th at 2026, I tell that to ChatGPT, and then it's like, oh, did Josh Morgan wear a blue shirt? Yes, he did.
And that's largely the pushback on AI from those that aren't aggressively adopting is, obviously the factual basis of, we even talked about this like a year or two ago about how when AI was in its infancy, about how freaking 90% of the things that they learned from were from Reddit. And I don't know if you spend more than 30 minutes on Reddit, you realize how effing dumb,
brainless. Yeah.
Tell me how you really feel.
So this is a little bit of a side tangent, but relevant to what you're saying is that my friend was telling me that the AI model companies, like in the US, there's some like little short phrase, but essentially like the model is trained right on the internet, but they kind of put these guardrails around it of that it's supposed to be kind of like nice, happy, and like safe, if you will, right? Because if it doesn't have those guardrails, essentially it's like a Reddit post, the way it talks to you and gives you information.
So funny story, right? And short, brief, I promise. I know a person who built an AI model, and basically he embedded a swear word in it. And if you ask something that goes against the rails, he just says that swear word and it gives you the information anyway.
Just F it. Here you go.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty much. Or you laugh at it and it goes, oh, you know how to get past this. Here's that information.
Yeah.
So So you
And the
can
one thing that
literally
actually
teach
confuses
AI
us is
whatever
that-
you want the pattern to be, and then it says, okay, that's the pattern. So you don't have to smuggle it across where basically everyone can see it. You can hide it in plain sight.
Yeah, I mean, we pulled back the latest Claude, right? Because it was digging too deep and stuff. I don't know. And then you would think that China would get a hold of that to test their deep seek somehow, some way, to see if there's any way back doors, etc. And they probably have. It's just they're not going to announce that. But I don't know. I mean, the hounds have been released. What is it? Pandora's box or whatever they call it. That's once it's released, can't put it back in. So wait until the dark web gets exposed, if it's not already, from all these AI agents that are out there digging and digging. So that's why everybody's scared.
Okay.
All the leaders are scared.
Well, I got bad news, guys. I'm being pulled into a call.
Okay. That could be good news.
Yep, that could be.
That's right. Bam. And just like that. What happened, Royce?
Well, that's inconvenient because that was like the last topip until he did his
Until he did that,
demo,
yeah, exactly.
and then we did the picks. So it's
right. So now we have to
unfortunate.
abruptly to change. Actually, we can still. You said are you really going to go with Micron as your pick?
I mean, tell me you dislike it more without telling me, Darin. Jeez.
Could we try it? Because it should be all down from here, but I mean, you never know. I mean, what?
The disdain
I
in
just
your
don't
voice was.
Hey, it's not my choice. Either way, it's not
Like
my
a
choice. But also, we can't.
disapproving father.
I know I can't even pull it up because he's the one that always pulls up the chart for everybody to see. So
I mean, worst case with the recent volatility, if we did Micron, the bands would be. I mean, the channels would be
should be
foobarred.
Yeah. Maybe we I guess there's a way to you announce it, what you're going to do, and then we pick channels via Mattermost or something. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, let's do MU, and
oh boy,
Darin will paste on the screen our picks after the fact, because I highly doubt Royce is going to be back in the next 30 minutes.
Yeah, I don't think so. That's all right. We talked about a lot of stuff. I mean, we went to almost 5:30. So we'll go ahead.
We can have one last impromptu topic. Okay, so supposedly this war is over. Oil futures are currently trading at we'll call it round up $70.
Yep.
Josh, do we get an actual end to this war, which will, give it 6 months time, inflation will go back down, and we won't have to get the 1 to 3 rate hikes this year that are being predicted? Or
No.
Are we just effed?
Yep.
No, this war is not going to stop. I mean, it hasn't ever stopped. Those two have been battling forever, and us coming in and playing peacemaker is not going to change anything. So, I mean, and I'm not even sure we're getting the right.
Wait. So
news,
sorry. What
right?
war? Israel and Lebanon, or us and Iran?
But Israel, they're all tied together though, and Israel's not going to stop doing what they're doing. I mean, it's just not.
Yeah, but like I don't think Israel really has the power to like continue to fight a war that keeps the strait closed. I could be wrong.
Supposedly, it's opened back up again. But the thing is, now they're doing the money that we were going to give, evidently, to Iran is now going to be put into a fund that the Fed is going to take care of. So all that money is going to, here they are taking money from the citizens again. They're going to put it into a fund for the Fed to take care of until we can actually give them their money, I guess, to rebuild the country. That's not going to go directly to them now. It's going to be just, we're going to handle the money. So it's like nothing's changed. I don't know. Interesting developments.
I guess more than a 2-word answer is like, I don't see how there's a way that Israel and the U.S. are going to separate from this particular conflict. I don't think that we can come to peace between the U.S. and Iran without also Israel and Lebanon having some sort of agreement. And so in that case, like the way that Israel is dead set on doing this, they do not care about Americans' feelings about gas prices or inflation. So you're kind of getting almost like a conflicting situation, because you're getting what the general population feels about the gas prices and inflation and the pressure it puts on the current administration. But the current administration is now so balls deep into this war that they can't admit defeat, and they can't separate themselves from Israel, because that's, from what all of the flags seem to say, that it was a joint operation between the two of us, and that they kind of got us into this war, and we agreed to do it in the name of the Iranian nuclear program that we had already apparently demolished twice over. So I don't, and so to answer your other point, if this conflict doesn't end, and even to the point that we talked about this back in January, February, about how if this goes for months, how long it's going to take to actually deflate gas prices, like for gas prices to actually come down to something that's even manageable, back down into like 60s and 70s, so that it doesn't permanently infect inflation. And so it doesn't become sticky. The inflation becomes transitory. And so because of how long it's going to take, A, for this war to end, B, for gas to go back to normal, it might, I don't know how long it takes definition wise for something to be transitory versus sticky, but I cannot see gas prices coming down within the next fiscal year to something that's not going to directly affect inflation.
Yeah, there was a news story today about Trump made a statement that he's gonna ask people to investigate the oil companies and why the prices are not down. So it'll be interesting to see if that does anything, which I don't think it will. I think it's just playing the game like he cares that the oil prices need to come down for the regular American. So I don't know. It's such a FUBAR thing, and I said FUBAR and didn't say the word.
There are midterms coming up.
Exactly, and that's what everything's about. Every decision made is about 4 months from now. What's going to happen then? So, yep, back to school could be a fun time. Actually, the next week is when they switch over. What's switching over on 6:30? I feel like there's several things happening 6:30.
That guy logged off the call.
Yeah, right. I don't think it's the Clarity Act, or is it? I don't know. I feel like there was several things that were going to on the 28th or 30th. He said 28th, didn't he? So I guess we'll all wait and see what happens. No, I mean, this war isn't going to change. And by the way, how's Russia, Ukraine? Was anything ever signed, a peace agreement, or just this is all diversionary now? We're looking at the Middle East instead of the Russia, Ukraine, which was probably planned as well, just to drive business.
It looks like it's still going on.
Gee, you don't ever hear about it, do you?
Analysis.
Yep, still there. Gonna be honest, totally forgot about it. Darin,
exactly. They worked for you. They worked on you. Same thing with the Epstein list and everything else that they're hoping we forget. The Epstein files, and then the Russia-Ukraine war, and anything else going on. Oh, Nancy Ticker, you're in trouble when Nancy Pelosi's starting to do trades again. Her first one since January. And there's crazy, stupid calls that she's, of course, on point with. Yep.
Well, I think he might be the tail that wags the dog,
I don't know. I think we're going to have a K war pretty soon. If it hasn't already started, the upper half of the K, or 10% of the K, possibly 5% versus the rest. Civil war. We don't own enough drones. Anyway, that's all I got. Anything else you want to throw in there, Daniel, before we head out? All right. So I keep saying this every week, but there's so many things that could happen in 7 days. I do think I'll tell you what, I got one question for you both. When are we going to hit $80 again on oil? We're at 70. So when we're going back to 80, I say by next Friday. What you guys got?
Next Friday.
Yep. What you guys got?
It does typically happen on Fridays.
Are you going to go to charts? He's looking at charts.
Oh, yeah, I guess I could cheat, but
might as well. I'm just going off the top of my head, like I never do.
yeah, I'd say next week, Monday.
Okay.
Like
just like the price is right. You went 1 day ahead.
Market's open. There's some mysterious, oil calls that are put out there. Some random trader puts $30 million in oil calls, and
oh, you mean Baron Trump?
Mm-hmm.
Some random trader.
I wasn't going to name names, but yeah. Uh-huh.
Just one paw for Baron, two for not Baron.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you say, Daniel? Don't stop studying it. When is it going to?
2 weeks. I give it a month.
Okay. So I've got.
Oh no, because if it stays, well,
huh?
I think the war will be over by then.
So you think it'll have one last pop and then it'll be over?
No, I'm saying I think how quickly it'll get back to 80. Because
I meant
all
next
of this.
Friday, by the way. I didn't mean this Friday, Josh. So are we saying the same thing then?
No, I mean like Monday.
Oh, you're talking about that soon? Back up to 80? Oh, you're sooner then. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And then Daniel said a month. Meanwhile, we will get the information to Royce, see what the channels are for Micron, and we will go from there, see if it's a $100 channel. We all get $20 or something crazy like that. We might get more than that. Might be 50 each. All right, let's say goodbye. Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Hopefully we'll see you the world will still be here. We'll see you next Wednesday. Later.
Probably will.